The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "As the Father loves me, so also I love you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy might be complete. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I no longer call you slaves because a slave does not know what his master is doing. I have called you friends because I have told you everything I have heard from my Father. It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruits that will remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. This I command you, love one another." The Gospel of the Lord. Hey friends, good morning. Love, 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 love. When you hear that word love, what comes to your mind? What feeling comes to mind for you? Excitement? Joy? Peace? When you hear love, do you feel like it's a plate of delicious food? How about when you hear the word commandment, laws, rules? How do you feel? Constrained? Absence of freedom? Yes. Many times, and someone said yes over there, many times we wonder, and sometimes young people say, "Oh mom, how can you say you love me and you give me all those rules to follow?" Some people say, "I love the church, I love the Catholic Church, but the church has too many rules, too many." Is it true that when you love a person, you obey them? Is that always the case? Sometimes. In our gospel text this morning, Jesus brings love and commandments together. He says, to love is to obey is to love. He says, if you keep my commandment, you will remain in my love. In John 14:15, he would say, if you love me, you will keep my commandment. But what is this love that Jesus speaks about? What is this love? To understand the love that Jesus speaks about, we have to look at the Greek translations of what love is. There are 4 words in Greek that speak about love. The first one is agape, which is a love that is of self-giving, mutual self-giving. Then philia, which is a mutual respect and friendship between friends. Eros, which is a romantic love, the one that we see mostly on TV. Then there is storge, which is the love, the spontaneous love or the natural love that parents have for their kids, which is all very powerful. But when God speaks about love in the context of his relationship with us, what is he talking about? He is talking about self-giving love, agape. And indeed, God has given himself to us. This is what the second reading speaks about. That God loved us, that he gave his son. He sent his son that we may be saved. God had no need of creating us. God has no need for us. By creating us, it's for our own benefit. God has no benefit for creation. That's the love that Jesus speaks about. And secondly, he speaks about philia, which is friendship. God desired friendship with us, and God continues to desire friendship with us. And what God does is, God goes in search of us. He came in search of humanity to save humanity. He left the heavenly realm and came to the earth and took on human flesh, that he may identify with us. And so God continues to seek our friendship. But why would God put together love and obedience, a commandment and obedience? And he tells us in the reading today, he gives us that very clearly. Why would he do that? When we all struggle and are always suspicious, and many people do that. There are three reasons that I want to outline why Jesus equates obedience and love together. Remember what he says. He says, if you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. The Father wills good for the Son wills good for the Father. When Jesus was hanging upon the cross, he said, please, Father, take this cup away from me, but let it not be my will, but your own will. In the relationship between the Father and the Son is the will to do good for the other. Love, will, and obedience always go together. And so that is why Jesus would say to the Father, thy will be done. Let your will be done. Now, the second reason why Jesus equates love and obedience or love and commandments is this. He says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. What does that mean? God is the essence of love. God is the essence of joy. All the joy that we share comes from God, who is joy himself. And he says, look, if you remain in this love of mine, then you would experience this joy. But how can you remain in this love unless you keep my commandment? If you obey my law, then you are remaining in my love, and then you would have joy. Many of us are yearning for joy, but we don't know where to find it. We go to search for joy in different places. We search for it in pleasure, and we search for it in happiness. But there is a distinction between joy, happiness, and pleasure. Pleasure, when we feel pleased, when we get the external things that we want. I want good food. I get good food. I am pleased. That is on the external. Maybe you love a particular restaurant and you go there to get good food. One day you may go there and the food may not be good. You cannot control the external circumstances because the world is always changing and it is uncertain. Then, on the inner level is happiness. a sense of contentment and peace. But even happiness can become monotonous and dull, and we start looking for other things to spice that happiness with. But at the deepest level is joy, which is a surprise, a gift that God gives to us. But friends, we can only experience joy if we obey God's commandment. If we do not obey, we cannot experience His joy. Joy is at the heart of obedience. You know, Jesus says, greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his friends. Love and obedience brings us to friendship with God. God who seeks us, who goes in search of us, who desires us, who gave himself for us. That's why he brings love and obedience, O Lord, together. Now, you have said all this, Father, but what can we do? There are two things that we can do in responding to God's invitation to obey and to love. First, we can change our perspective of what love is. Love is much more than just a feeling. Love is a choice. Love is the willing of the good of the other person. Second, we must change our motivation for love. So that we no longer love out of duty, but we love like, let's say, a doctor who has a loved one and their emergency, and they have to do all that they need to do in order to save that person. Many of us, my friends, will continue to struggle with this understanding. How can you say you love me and then you have all these commandments? Are there some laws or commandments of God that you decide, I do not want to keep this one? I keep X, Y, Z, but God, this one? No, I'm not keeping it. Are there some commandments or laws of the church that we pick and choose? Okay, Catholic Church, I will keep this one. I will do charitable works. But, when it comes to my body, it is my body. You cannot tell me what to do. We cannot pick and choose. If we want to be truly happy and to enjoy friendship with God, to love Him is to obey Him. To obey Him is to love Him. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.